Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and today we're going to be looking at some parts of an article that was written recently by Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Now, Rick Stroud does an absolute great job over at the Times. He's been in the game for such a long time. He does some very good work. And in this article, he was talking about how the Bucs plan to recalibrate and recover during the bye week. But there was some interesting stuff in this article regarding the Bucs after their loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Some quotes from Jordan Whitehead, some quotes from Todd Bowles that I wanted to talk about here from this article, which, wasn't really the point but of the article per se from Rick Stroud, but it did definitely stand out to me. This video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, by the way. So Coach Todd Bowles said second-year defensive back Josh Hayes and rookie cornerback Tyreek Funderburk were told to play tighter coverage on San Francisco's final drive. Okay, that is something that Todd Bowles said after the game. Now, Josh Hayes was the team's second cornerback. He has been in for a little bit now since Jamel Dean was placed on the injured reserve. To be quite honest, I thought he had a pretty decent game besides that final drive for the most part, and rookie Tyreek Funderburk was originally benched for Josh Hayes as cornerback 2, but he had to come in and play cornerback 1 after Zyon McCollum had left the game late with an injury in that 49ers matchup, okay? So, first thing here is that Todd Bowles said for them to play tighter coverage on that final drive. We'll come back to that here in a moment, but first, some comments here from Jordan Whitehead. He said, 2-minute situations, sometimes you get some zone coverage and it just feels like you're playing kind of soft. You let them catch it and you tackle them, you play like it's the first quarter. You can't do that in this situation. They only need 3 points. You can't play like that. They only need 20 yards to get in field goal range. You've got to play tighter. That's on us. We've got to knuckle up. So that is interesting to come from Jordan Whitehead. Originally, right, you would assume that that is a knock on Todd Bowles from Jordan Whitehead to say that, well, hey, if we weren't playing as soft zone, then if we were playing tighter, we wouldn't be giving them all these different types of yards to get them in field goal range. That is what Jordan Whitehead is saying, essentially, in my opinion, okay? But Todd Bowles is saying that it was told to Josh Hayes and Tyreek Funderburk to play tighter coverage. So now it seems like not only is Todd Bowles criticizing those two young cornerbacks, but also Jordan Whitehead is a little bit as well. That's interesting. That's interesting to me. There's a lot of criticism of the two cornerbacks there in that final drive from not just a leader in that locker room in Jordan Whitehead, but also in Todd Bowles. And we'll dive into that in a moment, folks, a little bit more, because I have more that I want to say on that. But real quick, I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, guys. If you guys do use the promo code YouTube150, you get a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% deposit bonus on your next two. That is all up to $2,000. Thank you again so much to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for being the sponsor of this video. So again, back to what I was saying. It's a bit weird, right? It's a bit like, ooh, that's a lot of criticism for two young cornerbacks who don't play that much, so to speak. A bit deeper down into the article, Todd Bowles says, the first time playing, a little nervous, I'm sure, which is in reference to Funderburk and Hayes. Now, Bowles said he wanted his cornerbacks to play tighter on the 49ers receivers after the Bucs tied the game on that 26-yard field goal, but for some reason, neither Funderburk or Josh Hayes responded, okay? And then Bowles would go on to say, were they told to play tighter coverage? Everything is communicated. And then, when they said, and they still stayed back, Bowles reiterated, everything is communicated. So I don't necessarily know. It seems like this isn't a good thing, in my opinion, okay? And look, there's a lot to unpack with that. There's a lot of thoughts churning in my head right now. Initially, I think some people would say, okay, well, that's on Todd Bowles. He has to really set in that point. He is the teacher of the defense. He is the defensive-minded head coach. And I agree with that. I do agree with that. I don't, so it's, that is a knock on him. But Todd Bowles is defending himself and saying, hey, it was communicated, the players didn't listen. So it's also a knock on the cornerbacks. Are they not listening? Are they nervous? That's what Bowles is theorizing, is that they're nervous, so they're playing back, so they're just not listening. It's a mental lapse of judgment. Jordan Whitehead's saying the same thing, saying, hey, they should have played tighter, but they didn't play tighter, these two young cornerbacks. So, like, where is the chain of communication here, right? I mean, just taking a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching staff, it's like, okay, well, Todd Bowles, yes, he is the defensive-minded head coach here, but who else? Is it Larry Foote? He's the pass game coordinator for defense. So is that also on Larry Foote not communicating things? Is that on assistant secondary coach Tim Atkins? Is that on... Let's keep on looking down the list here. Is that on assistant secondary coach Rashad Johnson? Is that on... again, who is that on cornerbacks coach Kevin Ross? He coaches the cornerbacks. Is that on Kevin Ross? I don't know where this chain of command fell apart, but if it went from Bowles to Kevin Ross to the cornerbacks, I don't know. But Bowles is saying they should have played tighter coverage. Jordan Whitehead is saying they were playing tighter coverage. In this, obviously, it's one situation. Right? It's one situation. It's two young cornerbacks. They had a mental lapse in judgment. These types of things happen, right? But I think this isn't a good precedent, right? This isn't a good example of where the team is right now in terms of communication from the top all the way down to the players, from Todd Bowles to the players. If Todd Bowles is saying everything is communicated, and then reiterating that everything is communicated, well, then there's something going wrong here with the communication because they still played off. Both of them. If it was one guy, that's one thing, but both of them playing off is another thing. And it just highlights a bigger problem in my mind of like, well, okay, how many other situations is this happening in? Okay. If two young cornerbacks can get miscommunicated, in some way, shape, or form, whoever may be responsible for that, be it Todd Bowles, be it the safeties, Jordan Whitehead saying, they should have played tighter coverage. Well, you let them know as well. It's easy to say that in hindsight. Are the players not communicating with each other? Is it Kevin Ross and the cornerbacks coach? Are the positional coaches not communicating with the defense? Well, it just highlights like, and it makes you think like, is communication a deeper problem here? Is it? Because if Bowles is saying, okay, everything's communicated, then why wasn't that the case? Why did that not happen? Well, first time playing a little nervous, I'm sure. This is not the first time they're playing. Josh Hayes has started multiple games here at cornerback. Tyreek Thunderberg has played multiple games starting this year. Bowles must have meant Thunderberg playing the first time in the game. But again, 2-minute situation, I guess. I can understand why he would be a little nervous, but Josh Hayes was playing that entire game. Why is he playing back? That's kind of where I'm like, okay. And maybe that's Bowles covering for his players, but I just wanted to highlight this because it seems like communication is an issue here. It's something that we've dived into at times this year with the safeties and the defense all together, but like this is a glaring example where one of your leaders in the locker room saying one thing, one of your coaches is saying, hey, this was communicated, this is what we want to do, but then it wasn't done. So whose fault is that? Is it the players? Is it the lack of communication? Where does this fault lie? I mean, I'm sure it's a little bit of everything, right? I'm sure, but to say that everything is communicated, he reiterated that everything is communicated. So where does it fall apart in this chain? The Bucs need to figure that out, where this falls apart in that chain. Are the players not getting it? Are the positional coaches not communicating it? And Bowles is just saying, yes, it is communicated. Is Bowles communicating it to the positional coaches and to pass game defensive coordinator Larry Foote, and they're not communicating it? I don't know. We won't know. But it's just something to chew on. It's just something to think about that I wanted to make some notes about. Great article by Rick Stroud. I know that I'm not necessarily focusing on the main point, which is, hey, they have a bye week. They're going to try and get healthier. That's great. But But or maybe that was the entire point of the article. I think that's part of it as well. Whenever they talk about recalibrating, but communication's got to be fixed as well. And I wanted to dive a little bit into that today. Some interesting stuff here from Rick Stroud, some interesting stuff from Todd Bowles after the game, Jordan Whitehead as well. In communication is very lacking right now, and that's got to change. That's got to change because this is a pretty bad look, in my opinion. So let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions about this down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear it. Thank you again so much to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Hope you guys all enjoyed. As always, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.